Welcome back to Accessible Gourmet. Today we're making shrimp étouffée. Let's start with our shrimp stock. Over medium heat, melt 1 tablespoon of butter and add in 1 pound of shrimp shells. I'm just using the shells from the shrimp that I'm using for this dish, as well as the scraps from our vegetables. I have celery, bell pepper, and some onion in here. We're also going to need 1 bay leaf and 3 sprigs of thyme. We just want to stir this around until the shells get a little roasted and a little pink, and that should take about 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, we're going to add 5 cups of water. We're going to bring this up to a boil and then lower it to a simmer and let this cook for 20 minutes. While our stock is simmering, we're going to start working on our vegetables. For this dish, we're going to need 1 medium yellow onion, and we just want to cut this into a rough dice. We can put this in a bowl and set it aside until we're ready to use it. We also need 3 stalks of celery, also chopped up really nicely. And this can go in the same bowl as the onions, since all of our vegetables are going in at the same time. In New Orleans, they call this the Holy Trinity. Up north, we're used to carrot, celery, and onion. Down there, it's all about the bell pepper. So we're also going to need 1 green bell pepper, also diced. And throw this in the same bowl as our celery and onions, and we're going to set this aside. We also need 3 cloves of garlic. Just smash them, peel them, and mince these guys and put them in a small bowl and set these aside as well until we're ready to add them to our dish. We're also going to need 1 cup of chopped tomatoes, and I have these beautiful tomatoes on the vine, so just pull those off the vine if you're using them, catch one if they start to fall, and give these a rough chop. I did not deseed these. If you don't like the seeds in your tomatoes, just squeeze those out. But I found it just didn't make a huge difference, so I just left the seeds in. And our final prep is 1 scallion. Just chop off the root end and any of the wilted top greens, as well as the leaves from 4 stems of parsley. When you're chopping leaves, it's easier just to roll them up into one little bundle and give them a nice choppity chop and throw them in our little bowl, as well as our scallion. And again, this can go in the same bowl as our parsley because this is going in at the very end. Now that our stock is done, we want to let it cool for a little bit and then strain out any of the solids. They've done all their job. They've done it very well. You end up with this beautiful golden seafood stock. When I strain this, I like to press down on the solids a little bit just to get as much of that liquid gold as we possibly can. And set the broth aside. We're only going to need 2 cups of this. So now we're going to start on our roux. Roux is just basically butter and flour cooked to a golden brown. So we're going to melt down 2 tablespoons of butter and add 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. Mix this together. You do want to kind of babysit this because it can go south very quickly. But as this butter melts and forms this lovely roux, you're going to notice that the color turns from this light blonde to a lovely, almost caramel brown, which should take about 10 to 12 minutes. Once our roux is golden and beautiful and smells nutty, we're going to add in our pepper, onion, and celery. And we're going to let this cook for 10 minutes, making sure to coat all of our vegetables in our roux. At this point, you can add a little salt if you'd like to start seasoning. And then we're going to add in our garlic, a quarter of a teaspoon of thyme, 1 bay leaf, and stir and let this cook for 2 minutes before we add in our tomatoes, a tablespoon of Worcestershire, a tablespoon of paprika, and a tablespoon of creole seasoning, as well as slowly adding in 2 cups of stock, a little at a time. I like to let it stir and incorporate and let the flour absorb into the liquid before I add more. But yeah, just keep stirring this. It is going to thicken. That's what the roux is for. So after about 10 minutes, this should thicken a little bit. Give it a taste and then start seasoning with a little salt and freshly ground black pepper. And then we're going to add in 1 pound of cleaned deveined shrimp. I did not leave the little end tail on. I just wanted to make this easier to eat without having to worry about the shell on the bottom. But we're going to give this a stir and let this cook until our shrimp is cooked through. And then we're going to add in our parsley and our green onion. I'll give it 1 more quick stir before we get ready to serve. I like to serve this over rice, but you don't have to if you don't want to. There's some back and forth about whether you put in the étouffée first and then the rice, or the rice and then the étouffée, but this is the way I did it. Just spoon all of that lovely goodness over the top of your rice, and you can garnish with a little parsley if you'd like to. I just think it looks beautiful this way. And there it is, my version of a shrimp étouffée. It was spicy, slightly spicy, and absolutely delicious. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, click the like button. If you loved it, subscribe and click the notification bell because I put out new videos every week. Until next time, happy cooking.